Hi, and welcome to my presentation of Teaching Online, Introduction, Trends, and Issues. This presentation is for Methods of Teaching Online at Mississippi State University, and the course is taught by Dr. Bracey. This presentation will cover various aspects of the backgrounds, trends, and issues in online teaching and learning. The purpose of this presentation is to examine the effect of student-centered learning on online teaching. This presentation will also explore various issues that surround online teaching as well. Student-centered learning is a focus of many distance education programs in order to bridge the gap of understanding, make information relevant, and provide a successful educational experience. While these positives are focused, we would be remiss not to focus on the issues at hand as well. As online education continues to grow, teachers will be needed to accommodate the learners. While online learning is exciting and ever-growing, there are advantages and disadvantages. We'll look at some of those. Teaching online has trends in regards to teaching methods. There are also many issues to be considered as you plan your instruction. Part of my introduction, I also want to let you know that there's going to be so many different types of learners that you're going to have, and there's so much growth in the field that to stay on top of it, you'll have to read journal articles, look up methods on. There's a lot of ways to keep up with it. What we're going to cover in this presentation, first we'll do a little terminology. We'll do the background, advantages and disadvantages, the trends of student-centered learning, massive open online courses, blogs, wikis, podcasts. A couple of the issues that we're going to cover is technology and communication. Some of the terminology. Online education is available around the world, and it's important to be aware of the related synonyms. It's also called e-learning, e-teaching, distance learning, massive open online courses, online learning, virtual education, virtual learning, web-based instruction. I'm sure there's more, but that's just a few. Now we're going to look at the advantages. With distance education comes benefits and advantages to student and organizations alike. It provides educational services to the masses at the same time, reaches rural areas, and reaches those that are homebound. So when you look at those two things and you think about, okay, it reaches rural areas, there are so many places where people don't have the opportunity to drive back and forth to a college, and so that you can use online learning to give them the opportunity to take advantage of education. There's also people that can't leave their home even if they wanted to. Physical limitations and things like that might stop them from being able to go to a traditional face-to-face classroom, so online teaching helps with that. Those two things, that's how it overcomes the time and location restraints. It reduces space requirements. If you've got a new class you want to teach and there's not another room available, no worries with online learning. You have all this in the world. It reduces the cost of education. In order for someone to go to school on a campus, they're going to have to drive back and forth to that class. They may have to provide child care for their children. Online education helps reduce the cost by you don't have those transportation costs. You don't have to have child care. You can do it all from your home. It provides individual and independent learning. Learning to be an independent learner is much like critical thinking. You learn how to navigate your way through a course on your own. You can teach a variety of classes, especially those not offered locally. So when you teach stuff online, you may just have one class that you're able to teach in a face-to-face classroom, but when you teach online, the opportunities are just endless. It reduces the inequality of opportunities, and that goes back to people that are in rural areas or homebound. When you have access, if you're at home, you have access to the same course that someone does on the campus. So that helps reduce the inequality of opportunities by giving both people in both situations the same opportunity. And this is providing educational options. Just because you can't go to a campus anymore doesn't mean that you can't get a great education. Like any other offering, there are disadvantages that must be weighed by the student and the organization. There's a lack of personal interaction with instructors, but if you facilitate your online learning right, you can minimize that. There's a lack of questions asked, lack of engaging discussion, and lack of nonverbal cues. You can definitely address the lack of questions asked by facilitating discussions and make them very engaging. Sometimes the faculty is not adequately trained for online instruction, and that's part of what this presentation helps you with, is to see some of the things you need to consider as you're building an online course. Sometimes when there's not a face-to-face relationship, students feel alone and they can't socialize, and this takes the time of working students. Just like a traditional face-to-face class, when you have online learning, it takes time. And so when they're trying to balance their time and their online learning, it can pose a problem. Online education hasn't always been online. It became as a form of distance education conducted through the mail with printed materials. We have come a long way since that time. And you look at how online education is now, it's just going to be amazing to see how it continues to progress and what it'll be even 3 years from now. One of the trends is connectivity. As you're planning online teaching, you need to think about ways to connect your students. You can give them opportunities to do peer-to-peer mentoring, and by that you can have someone check someone else's paper. You can engage the learners through media and designed experiences. There's so much media-rich content available, and you can go out there. It's going to take some time, but find some really good stuff that relates to your material and use that to engage your learners. You can advance the terms of knowledge with Web 2.0 and open access journals. Implement teamwork, collaboration tools. Expose the student to social software. And you're going to also need to serve the needs of highly mobile students. So to connect your students, you need to think about a way to reach out to your students and connect them. It is Massive Open Online Courses, or MOOCs. What is a Massive Online Open Course? It's a course of study made available over the internet without charge to a very large number of people. Massive, the M in MOOC is massive. The classes consist of up to 100,000 students. It's open. Registration is open to anyone around the world. They're online. The course is taken completely online, and it's a course. It's similar to college courses, but don't always offer credit. Some of them actually do. If you get a chance to enroll in a few MOOCs, it will definitely help your methods of teaching online. The collaboration aspect of MOOCs is huge. You hear from teachers around the world and what they do to improve their online teaching skills. MOOCs are known by several other different things: big open online courses, distributed open collaboration course, little open online courses, massive open online research, small private online course, synchronous massive open online courses. Some of these free courses are offered by MIT, Harvard, and Yale, and some of the platforms that they use are Coursera, edX, and Udacity. They're very user-friendly if you have a good background in technology. Some of the trends in MOOCs are it has a phenomenal growth and it fosters lifetime learning. The cons are it requires higher digital literacy and they have very low completion rates. There's so much out there that you can learn about, and it's easy to get caught up. You enroll for the course, but knowing that it's not monitored by a teacher or you're not getting a grade or anything, it's easy for people just to let it fall by the wayside. But do take advantage of these and look at them and see how they could help you in your course. Another trend is student-centered learning. Student-centered learning has been picking up momentum as a way of structuring a distance learning course. You're going to need to look into student-centered learning as you plan your online course. Through distance learning, benefits have been found and results documented as a way of promoting learning when focused on student-centered. The benefit of student-centered learning comes when the characteristics are fully employed. So let's look at what those characteristics are. Student-centered learning actively engages the student. It changes according to the student's needs, and it takes into account to the student's background. You need to get to know your students, and you need to monitor their progress. It collaborates with other students. They share personal needs, and they provide peer feedback. When students collaborate together, it helps them grow better in the course. Observe learning progression. Explore rather than listening. And one of the things I think is just the most fabulous thing about student-centered learning is it empowers students to seek out new knowledge. And that's what we want. We want to create critical thinkers and students that don't want just to be handed information. They want to go out and find it for themselves. Results have been observed when student-centered learning is employed. It produces higher quality projects. Your learners master the concept better. Active learning by students contributes to learning outcomes. Student satisfaction and success. You have more involved students. It promotes lifelong learning, which we all know how important that is, and it's higher retention. There's an increased program enrollment. How you use in non-traditional classrooms instead of like the college classroom. So you might have something that you're doing, you're designing a professional development class or a certification. Some of the things that you look at that is it can start at any time, the work is self-paced primarily, and the focus is on a job-related experience. Is blogs. Blogs track individual progress and they're reflective. If a student will blog their experiences even just weekly throughout a course, they can see for themselves their personal and intellectual growth during the course. There's several different free platforms for blogging. There's Blogger, TypePad, and WordPress. I'm mostly familiar with WordPress. Very easy to use, very user-friendly, something you should consider integrating with your class. And we're going to look at is a wiki. A wiki is a website that collaborative editing of its content and structures is by its users. Now, wiki sometimes has a negative connotation because we've been told so many times don't use Wikipedia. But wikis in education allow for great collaborations. They can be instructor managed, they can be student managed. You can use them for ice breaking to help your students get to know one another at the beginning of the course. This also promotes collaboration and it builds relationships among your learners. They don't feel like they're just out there alone. They have their classmates. They can communicate with their classmates, share ideas, and get support. Another trend is podcasts. This uses RSS technology, and RSS stands for Rich Site Summary. We'll come back to another little thing I want you to know about RSS technology. It allows content to be pushed, and by pushed it means I have to go and seek the information. Something similar is how you can take your smartphone and you can tell it to either let you manually receive your email, bring it to you every 30 minutes, or push it, and that's where whenever you get it, it comes through. Whenever you get it, it comes through. So you can do this with podcasting your students. You can do video on demand. There's free hosting. You can have up-to-the-minute expert commentaries. Students broadcast analysis of topics. They integrate educators' professional RSS feeds, and they integrate expert advice. Another thing that you can do is link them to current events. So anything that's going on in the world and it affects what you're teaching at the time, you can get an RSS feed where the student can hear a lecture or something that might better their learning for the course. when you set up an RSS, it removes the need for somebody to go check it. Instead, it constantly monitors the site and informs the user of any updates, and it can be commanded, just like I was talking about with your email, to automatically download the new data for the user. In online teaching is communication. Communication lacks specific part of the communication process. It should not be one-sided. When you do your online class, make sure that it's not you. You need to be communicating with the students, and the students need to be communicating with others. There's a need for understanding and not just repeating what is communicated. You need to monitor their learning performance, control the mode of delivery. This means, do you want to be able to let them work ahead or not? Control the presentation rate. There's going to be barriers. Sometimes you might not use the correct medium to deliver what you want to teach. There's going to be different socioeconomic backgrounds that you'll need to address, and there will always be cultural issues. Technology issues you should think about is when you're picking a technology, it should encourage contact between the student and faculty. It should utilize active learning techniques. It should give prompt feedback. This is one of the biggest things I think you need to think about as you're planning. You need to be able to give your learner feedback on what they're doing, how they can improve. They rely on feedback to keep moving. You need to emphasize the time on task. Everybody needs deadlines. You need to know that this has to be done by a certain time. Tell your students you have high expectations. You know they can do it, you want them to do it, and you're there to help them. That you want to have technology that makes it where you can do these things. And just respect diverse ways of learning. That when you use technology, you need to understand that there's more than one way to learn things, and good technology will cover all these things. In conclusion, methods of teaching online will continue to evolve as new technologies emerge. Trends will rapidly change. Delivery methods and contents will improve. Continued research will be necessary to provide universities, instructional designers, and instructors with the best practices for teaching online. I hope you found this presentation helpful. This is just kind of scraping at the surface on the things we talked about. You can get much more in-depth on each topic in this, but I hope this will give you some things to think about as you design your online course. Thanks.